Tobacco is important for North Carolina because it historically has been, and it still remains, the #1 cash crop for the state, and it's the way that many families have made money to live off of. Tobacco seed is very tiny, and so tobacco farmers historically would scatter the seeds in a seed bed in the ground around mid-April, and they would let those seedlings grow until they were about 6 inches tall. When the tobacco had reached this height, they would then transplant the tobacco into rows in the fields. In this area, they usually transplant tobacco around the first week in May. Tobacco flowers are very pretty, but tobacco farmers don't want them on the plant. Tobacco flowers draw the energy away from the leaves in a tobacco plant because they want to make seeds to reproduce the plant for another year. Since tobacco farmers want big, healthy leaves, they top the plant, and that's what they call taking the flower off the top of the plant so that all the plant's energy will go into the leaves. Hornworms are a major pest of the tobacco plant. Hornworms are a caterpillar, but in their caterpillar stage they are voracious eaters, and they can eat at least a leaf of tobacco a day each. Historically, the way that farmers would remove these from the plants is they would just physically pick them off the plant and then they would kill them. Around the time of harvest, a brightleaf tobacco plant can reach about 5 feet tall, and it grows on one main stalk. They'd start harvesting tobacco in late July or early August, harvest through the end of summer and into early fall. The way they harvest the plant is they take the leaves as they ripen or as they yellow. Grab the stem closest to the plant, and with a little bit of a twist, you can pull it off of the main stalk of the plant. Then the farmer would tuck the leaf under their arm. When their arm was filled with so many leaves they couldn't stick another one under there, they would bring it over to a tobacco drag. Basically, it looks like a wooden trailer on sled runners that would be pulled by a mule.
What the people in the South have found out, mules were more adaptable to a hot climate. They have long ears to help get rid of the heat, and their nature just seems to suit a Southern, because you can go to places up north and they don't use mules very often. Now, a mule is what we call a hybrid. They are not a true breed, and not being a true breed, they cannot reproduce themselves and have offsprings. But they are a result of a donkey, which is what we call a jack. That is the male, and then the female is a horse. When you breed them, you get a mule. If you use a jenny, which is a female donkey, and a male horse or a pony, you get what we call a muley or henny, which a lot of people say they can tell by looking at them, but it's a little hard to tell the difference unless you really know them. The mule skinner is an old terminology where when a man would work 4 or 5 mules, he normally had a long whip. And that whip, he'd crack it and use it to make them go forward or to go G, which would be to the right, or Ha, which would be to the left. And that's where the mule skinner come in, but a real good mule skinner never did hit his mules. He might flick it at them and just let it touch them real easy, but you know, you're damaging a valuable piece of property if you just beat them.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Not as hot as these guys, though.
Probably. You can ride it. He's able to ride the thing.
Once the entire drag was filled, the mule would bring it up to the curing barn.
In eastern North Carolina, we called it looping tobacco. I think in the Piedmont it was called stringing. You would put anywhere from about 36, 38 bundles of tobacco on a stick. You'd have 2, 3 handers, depending on how many the looper could take. It'd take about 500 sticks to go into a barn a day. And you'd have sometimes 2 loopers at a truck. You get 3 leaves usually of big tobacco like what this is, and the reason was so that it would they would counterset each other so that he could get up between the green leaves in the barn as it would dry. It'd take about 5 days to dry out a barn of tobacco. When you're drying your tobacco out in the barn, you start off with fairly low heat and then gradually raise the heat of the tobacco. As the leaf turns yellow, you keep increasing your heat until you get it at a hot enough temperature to actually dry it golden color. In this area of North Carolina and eastern North Carolina, we called it bright leaf because it was a gold color. What you're doing is you're putting a loop around each bundle of tobacco that goes on the stick so that as the leaf dried, the string would tighten up and the leaves would not fall out in the barn and cause a fire. You did this all day long till you got your tobacco, 500 sticks. If the handlers would hand it by the top, it's easier for the looper to catch the bundle, and then her stems would all be the same length on the stick, making for a neater stick of tobacco. Prettier looking, but it also made it easier to take it off once the tobacco was dried out, because as you took the bundles off, they would be even laid over for someone to grade.
Now we are in the process of grading tobacco, and we're tying it in bundles, getting it ready to take to the market. And once we get this done, we'll sell it, and we'll take whatever the buyers give us for it. When we grade tobacco, this would be what we would call the best grade. And then you'd have tobacco similar to this. And the best grade would be in between these two sticks. Then we'd put the next grade, which would be a little different in color, a little different in texture there, and on down until we get to the trash. And the trash would go over there in that, between those two sticks. And that's what grading tobacco is. You just pick it out and you put the texture, the quality, and the looks of it in one grade, and the rest of it goes in different grades.
Process of tying it into the hand, you'd take these, after it's been graded, you'd pick out the leaves and put it in a bundle like this, and you'd get another leaf like this and lay it on your knee, fold it like this, and then start wrapping it around like this, and just wrap it around, roll it around, and then you'd come through here like this and do this, and you got the finished product. This is what it looks like when you get it preparing it to be taken to the market.
Then when we get it to the market, we would pack it on baskets, like that basket right there. And then they would take it and mash the tails of it together where the heads would kind of be out like this, where it would fit around the basket and the pile would be round. And that's why the tails were mashed together. And then we put it on the basket and take it to the floor and on the White House, and they would wait for the government grader or tobacco buyers to come through and tell us what they're going to give for it. We was at their mercy. Whatever they told us to give, that's what we had to take. Nobody else didn't want it. You couldn't eat it, so you had to sell it.
60 Taylor, 60 59 99 60 61 1 2 2 3 4 7 $67
This all started back in the middle 1800s when a man from Danville found out that he did not have to go out on the street and call up a group of people to sell it like personal property. They'd have a hogshead of tobacco and they'd ring the bell and they'd start that up and they'd sell it like asking for a bid, like 50 cents, will you go 60? 50, will you go 60? So he decided that if he could line tobacco up in a warehouse and he could have the professional buyers come, that he could sell that tobacco faster, with more rhythm, and for more money. Thus it was started then. My father used to ride me around when I was teenager on a Sunday or something, and he was an auctioneer. I had a brother who was an auctioneer also, but he would get me to sing out the numbers. I had no idea I'd ever be an auctioneer. And I wanted to do it fast. And he said, don't worry about that. Learn to adjust your chant to the situation, the tobacco sale itself. You'll have some sales that are really hard. You'll have some that would be easy. And so that's what I did. I started to sing them out, just sang it out. 181, my throat's bothering me a little. 182, 2, 2, 2, re, 80, re, 4, 4, 84, 4, 4, American. Now, if you did that in the chant form, you would probably do 180, 1, 1, 1, 1, $2 bill, re, 4, 4, 1, 5, 5, 5, 5, American. That's the way it would sound on the floor. When they lined that tobacco up, it was all graded when I was in the business by the government, which had a support price on it. The warehouseman who would take in the farmer's tobacco was paid on commission, and they in turn paid us on commission or by poundage, whichever we could trade with them about. And he would start the sale, and when he would start the sale, the auctioneer starts his chant with that amount of money.
180.
And 80.
We look across the road, and if a man's looking at us, he stood the bid. If another one looks up or touches himself, that's 61. If they go like this, that would be 64. And if then somebody hits him a lick, that would be 65. Then he might jump at another 4, that would be 69, $1.69. It was every man for himself. This man wanted to outbuy the other one. And he would do everything in his power to do that. Some of them would flip a cigarette to see. They didn't want him to know who was bidding, because they would know what that man had, the amount of money on a pile of tobacco also. Nobody would be looking at us. At this point, we knocked it. And then the ticket marker would put that price on that ticket.
That's what it brought before.
The buyer himself would holler out a grade. He'd put that on there. Now we're moving at 500 to 600 miles an hour, so you can imagine those tickets are in the air. It was a wonderful old business. It was a way of life. And when you had a good sale, it was like hitting a home run in baseball. The farmers were happy, the warehousemen were happy, and we were happy.
I've got a letter come in by mail. My baby says she's coming home, and I hope that she don't fail. You know, I feel so good. Well, I feel so good. I feel like falling jump.